We're not getting another Star Wars, and it's not because Hollywood ran out of ideas. It's because the conditions that made it possible don't exist anymore. When Star Wars was released in 1977, it wasn't just a movie. It was a cultural event. Not because it had a big budget, not because it had famous actors, but because it showed people something they had never seen before. Worlds that felt real, ships that had seen battle, and a universe that existed beyond the frame. Star Wars succeeded not just because it told a good story, it succeeded because it hid technology inside its story. And by technology, I'm not talking about the laser blasters, the spaceships, or even the lightsabers that make Star Wars so iconic. For a long time, movies have been associated with a word that seems paradoxically linked. We often call it movie magic. But that phrase is an oxymoron. Movies are technical, magic is mysterious. And to bridge the gap between movie and magic is a simple tool that artists have used since the dawn of time.
Technology!
Sorry, I couldn't resist. If the movie is the what of your story and the magic is the why, then technology is the how. Look, it doesn't matter how excellent your script is. If it's impossible for it to be adapted, then it will never be experienced on the silver screen by a living, breathing audience. Which brings us to Industrial Lights and Magic, the wizards who used every tool at their disposal to make the world of Star Wars feel as real and lived in as our own. So, if it's really just as simple as movie plus technology equals magic, then today, where technology is so advanced, we should be releasing masterpiece after masterpiece, right?
They're crap. 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 Mega crap. Take them somewhere else.
Guess not. The problem with modern technology is that we can render entire worlds in real time. We can even place actors with characters that don't exist. In other words, we shortened the bridge. And by shortening it, we made it way too easy to cross. Let's rewind back to the 1970s, back to the ILM warehouse. Nowadays, we tend to look at these legends in the industry with rose-colored glasses. I mean, if these were the folks who set the industry standard, they obviously must have been hyper-professional and organized, right? Nope. In fact, this is probably a more accurate depiction of their workflow. According to legend, there's a story where a 20th Century Fox executive visited the ILM warehouse only to find a bunch of grown adults, engineers, model makers, and college students hanging out in a makeshift pool with an improvised slide they built from the roof. And yet somehow, this was the team responsible for redefining movie history. Here's why. This ragtag crew at ILM excelled at navigating through obstacles. No one believed in them or their little sci-fi adventure movie, so they got little support from the top brass. And this is the secret sauce that makes movies so magical. Here it is, technology with limitations. Basically, when you've got a limited budget, limited time frame, and limited resources, it presents several obstacles in your path between you and the finish line. And only the great artists use limitations as a fuel for creativity. I mean, look at how many innovations came out of the Star Wars pipeline. We got the Dijkstraflex, which was a computer-driven motion control rig that could produce repeatable movements over and over and over. Then we got VistaVision, which fed film through a camera horizontally, which was key for compositing multiple layers of effects. And then optical printing, which merged live sets with matte paintings. And if you didn't know, all of these innovations revolutionized the way that movies were made going forward. And the funniest part in all of this is, if we were to ask these professionals about what inspired them to push the industry forward, I think many of them would just shrug their shoulders and say, dude, we were just trying to meet a deadline. It's not that deep. For most fans, Star Wars is an iconic franchise with an epic saga. But for me, I associate Star Wars as the movie franchise that continuously changed the way that movies were made. This is true from the original trilogy all the way up until the prequels. And with each episode, with each trilogy, George Lucas and his team of creatives pushed the industry forward and changed the way the movies were made. It's because of Star Wars that we moved from analog filmmaking to digital filmmaking. It's because of Star Wars that every movie now uses green screens. It's because of Star Wars that we're able to use computer graphics to breathe life into any worlds or characters that we can come up with in our heads. But sadly, that's the paradox of modern filmmaking. When anything can be created, nothing feels impossible. And when nothing feels impossible, nothing feels significant. Dang it, I'm dancing real close to Syndrome's monologue from The Incredibles, so I might as well just say it.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Anyways, like I said earlier, I've always associated Star Wars with revolutionizing filmmaking, and that's what makes the sequel trilogy so different. They threw all the money in the world at it with no limitations, and the art suffered massively for it. The closest I've seen from modern Star Wars to the old magic is the first season of The Mandalorian, and it's because they experimented with the volume in their pipeline, which allowed them to get realistic lighting and perspective in camera. But outside of that, The Mandalorian is a huge disappointment for me in a storytelling capacity, so let's not go into that. Now, to be fair, there are still films today that are pushing technology forward. Avatar is one of them. It's groundbreaking, it's ambitious, it's even visually striking. And the Avatar franchise has revolutionized performance capture, simulation engines, and real-time renders. But it doesn't have the same soul as Star Wars. And if you disagree with me on that, try naming 2 of the kids in the Avatar franchise. Yeah, I can't either. You see, we didn't lose the ability to make great stories, but we have lost our appreciation for limitations. Limitation doesn't stifle your art. It's actually the real catalyst for becoming a better artist. Limited money, limited time, limited resources are tools that train you to become resilient as a creative. And resilience is exactly what the industry has lost. The industry is very good at generating templates. And the assumption with a template is that you can mass produce success if we just copy, paste. Copy, paste. This then turns art into a system that completely removes risk from the equation. And without risk, you lose magic. So I say it again, we won't get another Star Wars. Not because it was perfect, but because it existed at the exact moment where technology, limitation, and storytelling collided. So, for us in the modern age, we're presented with a unique opportunity. Even though we have all the tools that we could possibly need at our disposal, what would happen if we chose to create with less? Long live the storytellers.